This is PTV World. I am Syed Shabahat Ali and you're watching Fault Lines. The terror of Boko Haram has been terrorizing Nigeria for more than 12 years now. The group has been playing havoc with the villager communities of the country for almost 12 years, but became a haunting icon of terror after mass kidnapping of nearly 300 Nigerian girls from the town of Chibok in 2014. The chief of the group, Abu Bakr Shekov, has been the most wanted terrorist in Africa with a head price of $7 million US. Though this money did not help to get him arrested, he was reportedly killed by himself, like he killed himself. Recently, when the government of Nigeria has not given any statement in this regard, the terrorist group has released a video confirming his death. While his death affects the influence of Boko Haram in Nigeria or not, why government has so far failed to overcome the menace of terrorism? Why Boko Haram has not lost support from the poor communities despite all atrocities? Watch the package prepared by our team before we discuss this all with the first guest in the program.
In spite of governmental efforts, the security situation in Nigeria is deteriorating, including the Boko Haram insurgency. However, with the recent abduction of schoolboys, not only is Nigeria grappled in terrorism, but also a lingering conflict between herders and farmers. This is creating a sort of banditry terrorism nexus. Northwest Nigeria, along with the northeastern region, has become a safe haven for the terrorist groups, which not only includes Boko Haram, but also many others, such as Islamic State in West Africa, Jamaat al-Ansar al-Muslimin, and Al-Qaeda in Islamic Maghreb. Since October 2019, there has been an increasing trend of terrorist groups constructing illegal vehicle checkpoints on major supply and commercial routes in Nigeria and attacking vehicles traveling on major roads into Maiduguri in Borno State. These attacks have directly targeted civilians, security forces, and aid workers. Ansaru, Boko Haram, and ISWA have carried out a number of kidnappings in Nigeria. In the past 5 years, several foreign nationals and humanitarian workers have been kidnapped in the north of Nigeria. Several reasons have exacerbated terrorism in the region, including arms and weapons trafficking from porous Nigeria border, a nexus of poor governance, poverty, and climate change, overburdened security apparatus, and diminishing presence of federal government, and illegal mining activities, among many others. Recently, reports of the death of Boko Haram leader Abu Bakr Shekau have circulated. The news hasn't yet been confirmed neither by the Nigerian government nor the Boko Haram. So, how has Boko Haram changed the regional socio-political dynamics? And what does the death of the leader mean for Boko Haram's presence in Nigeria? Will the kidnappings reduce, or will the terrorism continue as a new leader takes office?
My first guest in the program is Fisayo Sombo, a well-read author of Nigerian origin, and he's based in London. He's an investigative journalist as well and has worked for various investigative channels. Welcome to the program, Mr. Fisayo.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Fisayo, we are today discussing the problem of Boko Haram in Nigeria. But as we are living far from Nigeria and far from Africa, would you kindly give a bit of background of Nigeria, its geography and its demography? How is it divided?
Okay, so Nigeria is a is a country comprising 36 states and a federal capital territory. The current system of governance is democracy, even though we do have a president in Muhammadu Buhari who comes from a military background and has been operating as one. I mean, for instance, he recently banned Twitter. So while we're a democracy, it's not the ideal example of what a democracy should be. Our major source of earning is oil, crude oil, that we export in exchange for some revenue and refined petroleum products. The crisis in the northeast, basically, okay, so we are still talking about Nigeria. So I think those are the important things you need to know about Nigeria. We are basically an importing country. Most of the things that we consume, we import, we export just a little, basically oil and a few other things.
I mean,
We
how
run
is
elect.
it is religiously divided? How much of the component is Muslim
Yes,
population, and what other religions do
yes,
exist there?
yes, yes. In a number of religious groups, but the two most prominent are the Christians and the Muslims. I'm not quite sure one is more uh, popular than the other. It's like they are neck and neck. In terms of acceptability, you find Muslims in the north, in the south, and west of Nigeria. You find Christians there as well. A lot of people often think that everywhere in the north you have Muslims, but that couldn't be. Nothing could be more false than that. You know, we've had Christian governor in a state like Kaduna that is basically northern. Yeah, so religiously, that's how Nigeria is: Christians and Muslims.
Okay, Fisayo, how did this problem of Boko Haram started? We understand that it originally started as a movement that was initially against Western education, but then it radicalized to a lot of extent. Give us a bit of background of this crisis.
Yes, so really, Boko Haram existed for at least 7 years before the 2009 crisis. It was a group that was peaceful, even though some of its ideologies were questionable. Um, but Boko Haram, the leader Yusuf Mohammed had such a huge following that it was courted by governors. People seeking political office, wanted to be his friend, knowing the hundreds of thousands of followers he commanded and knowing what that would mean for their chances if they voted for him. As a matter of fact, the governor of Borno State, when this crisis happened, Boko Haram did handpick one of his commissioners. It was Boko Haram that selected one of his commissioners. So it was not always a violent group. It was peaceful, and the political elite wanted to be friends with Boko Haram. Problem started in 2009 when there was a clash between Boko Haram members and policemen. They wanted to bury one of their members. Didn't have
You're breaking up.
helmets.
Would you repeat that, Fisayo?
Was it? Okay. What did you hear last? So I know where to pick it from.
You were mentioning
Can you hear
about
me?
the rise of its previous leader.
Yes. So the previous leader was peaceful until 2009 when Boko Haram members clashed with policemen, and then there was a military crackdown. Soldiers arrested Yusuf Mohammed, the founder of Boko Haram, in the house of one of his wives, or one of his wife's family, yeah, something of that nature, and handed him over to the police, who then shot him extrajudicially in public. The next person who took over the reins of Boko Haram was Abubakar Shekau. Unluckily for everybody, Shekau.
Fisayo, before you move to Abu Bakr Shikav, I would want to understand that how popular was Yusuf and how popular was his narrative, because you said he was arrested by police and there was some resistance by the communities as well.
Yusuf was very popular, his followers were in hundreds of thousands. There is no popularity that is bigger than having governorship aspirants, people wanting to be governor of a state, and then they come to you to seek your blessings. And you are not the most learned person in the world. You are not a professor. You are not a businessman. You are not a multimillionaire. You don't have money to give. You are just one man preaching extremist religious views to your followers. And people who want to be the number one state official in your state, they come to you. That's how popular it was. You know, How many groups will get the opportunity to nominate commissioners in a governorship cabinet? I've been a journalist for quite a while. I've never had that privilege. I don't know how many senior journalists, how many senior professionals have the privilege to handpick a commissioner for an incoming governor. That's how powerful Yusuf Mohammed was.
So, with this
And he wasn't
popularity, he
violent.
was arrested and he was then killed by police, as you said earlier, in an
Yes,
extrajudicial killing. And this prompted some spark in public,
yes,
and then comes in Abu Bakr Shekau.
yes. You see, at the core of majority of the security problems in Nigeria, at the core, you find abuse of security powers. Not just Boko Haram, protests everywhere. They always abuse their powers. If they had not killed Yusuf Mohammed extrajudicially, we would not be here. And unfortunately, they have not learnt their lesson.
Fisayo, what difference did Abu Bakr Shekau brought into the movement as compared to his predecessor?
He brought violence. He brought sheer terror. He brought destruction. He shook the foundations of education in northern Nigeria. Northern Nigeria is the most educationally backward region in Nigeria, even though northern Nigeria has ruled Nigeria the most. Majority of Nigeria's leaders, either in military systems or regimes or democracies, it's been from majority of them are from the north, but they are the most educationally backward. Attacks by Boko Haram under Shekau has targeted, just like you said, the Chibok abduction, has targeted schools by girls and boys, further dropping the interest in education. He has brought death, he has brought bloodshed, he has brought grief, sadness, everything you can think about, misery, poverty, because the North is even now more impoverished than it was 10 years ago. Every negative thing that you can think about, Shekau has brought to Boko Haram.
So, Fisayo, while this all was happening, Nigeria certainly is a larger military in the African countries. It's a stronger military, it's a stronger economy, as we discussed earlier. So, how did the military of Nigeria and the political administration of Nigeria responded to the rising threat of Boko Haram after the killing of Yusuf and rising of Abu Bakr Shekau?
You see, in Nigeria, too many things are politicized. Presidents look at events from a largely political perspective, not even from the perspective of governance. So, for instance, when the Chibok abduction happened, Goodluck Jonathan, the then president, did not believe that an abduction had indeed taken place. It took him a good few days. By the time he believed, those girls were out of reach, were way beyond reach. So, and that exemplifies the overall reaction of the Nigerian government. Under Buhari, under Jonathan, the threat has always been first and foremost viewed from a political perspective. My political enemies are the ones fueling this crisis. My political enemies are the ones, trying to make the country unstable. That's usually the first reaction. And then, of course, they make promises. We are going to do everything to nip this in the bud. But corruption has been the biggest problem. Corruption in the army, lack of political will, lack of the right equipment. So, yes, the government, without the severity of the crisis that is happening in northern Nigeria, and then puts in some performative effort, press statements, media interviews, promising fire and brimstone. Buhari, for instance, came in 2015 and promised that he would defeat Boko Haram, he would find Chibok girls. He hasn't managed to do that, but life is continuing.
Fisayo, most of the viewers of this program are based in Pakistan and neighboring countries of South Asia. not very familiar with African affairs. So for the sake of convenience and comprehension of the viewers of the program, will you tell us about the political objectives that Boko Haram has set forth? We understand that in 2015 they sought allegiance with ISIS in the establishment of caliphate, but then this objective was lost somewhere. They were initially against the Western education, but their practical actions went much beyond that domain. So what do you believe, or how do you see their political objectives going forward? What are they up to actually?
First and foremost, Boko Haram believes that Western education is sin, which is evident in its obsession with school children abduction. Boko Haram believes that there should be no political power, there should be no democracy, a government by the infidels, in quote, they call us infidels, people who want to do things by common sense, by the reasoning of education. So Boko Haram would, left to them, overthrow the governors in the northeast and expand to other parts of Nigeria and be the ones ruling the country. That has always been the ideology. You shouldn't, ironically, Boko Haram that says Western education is sin. You have Shekau, when he was alive, would use a phone, a product of education, and record his messages on video, and then use the internet, another product of education, to send out his message. So you have a group that says no to education, that says no to elections, that says no to political order, that wants to be in charge, that wants to protect the people, that wants to tell the people how to live, that wants to make sure everyone follows Islam by hook or crook, but at the same time continues to ironically breach these things it is against. You have a group that believes that if you die, in terrorism, you end up in paradise, which is funny, but which is why
Fisayo, as we are running short of time, it would be very pertinent if you can mention the 2014 incident of Chibok, which actually brought Boko Haram and Nigeria in middle of limelight. There was a global campaign, bring back our girls. The First Lady of the United States became a member of this campaign, and it actually brought a lot of attention to this issue. Tell us about it and what happened afterwards, because certainly media lost its focus on that issue thereafter.
The 2014 event was the turning point. By the time it went viral, it got international media coverage, it was impossible for the government to continue to deny that an abduction had taken place. But then it was also fuel to Boko Haram. Boko Haram then sat back and thought, oh wow, we've managed to place ourselves on the global map, and things can only get, from their perspective, better from there. Which was why 2 years after that incident, we then woke up to a faction of Boko Haram pledging allegiance to ISIS. The faction headed by Musa al-Banawi, who, by the way, is a son of the founder, Yusuf Mohammed. So the 2014 incident was a landmark that propelled Boko Haram to international attention, provided a platform for pledging allegiance to ISIS, which then, again, caused huge friction in Boko Haram. The ISIS loyal faction decided to break away, and as you must have learned, came back a few weeks ago to kill Abubakar Shekau, who heads the initial Boko Haram faction.
Thank you very much, Fisayo Soyambo, for being in my such a pleasure to speak to you. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break here and we'll join back with the second segment of our program. Stay with us. Welcome back. Since every problem has a deep economic dimension without which the problem cannot be understood or cannot be comprehended, we have an African economist in our program today. His name is John Ofi Ansah. He's originally from Ghana, based in the United Kingdom, and he has a tremendous amount of work done on the African economy. So he's going to talk about the crisis of Boko Haram in an economic dimension. John, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
John, tell us about the economic aspect of this entire crisis. What I'm going to ask you is a theory which you may or may not agree with, is that poverty is breeding grounds for terrorism, and terrorism in return is again creating more poverty in this region that is helping the terrorist organizations to recruit more people for them because they're always so well funded.
Yes, Nigeria as well, though, is the most populous country in sub-Saharan Africa and also Africa's largest economy. But the population is about more than 200 million. And the economy, economic power is concentrated largely in the south, and political power is also, the northerners also hold the political power. So it makes the northerners feel a bit deprived, if you like, because there's rampant poverty and deprivation in northern Nigeria, which is mainly Muslim, and the south, is also mainly Christian. So these are some of the things that actually give rise to the emergence of Boko Haram, who see Western, education as a sin, right? And who are also against, the secularization, of northern Nigeria. So initially, Boko Haram was set up, to eradicate all forms of Western influence in that part of the country. Okay, hence the name Boko Haram. Okay, and again, they also wanted to set up some sort of a caliphate, operating under Sharia law within northern Nigeria. So we'll talk about the genesis or the causes of establishment of Boko Haram. These are, in a nutshell, the causes of the emergence or the genesis of the Boko Haram terrorist group.
I understand that, John, but my original question is that mostly these terror organizations are banking upon the economic deprivation of the people. And it's actually the economic starvation that creates grounds for these organizations to recruit more people. Otherwise, if they were good in their economy, they perhaps would never have participated. We see that Boko Haram has not been short of personnel or short of fighters at any stage. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree with that to a certain extent. Because look, as the old adage goes, a hungry man, is an angry man. When you live in a country and you see one part of the country so prosperous and another part, relatively deprived economically, it gives rise to all sorts of anger, all sorts of resentment, all sorts of frustrations, disillusionment. So that makes the people, especially the youth, easy target to be influenced and recruited into terrorist activities under the guise of agitating for better economic conditions, for themselves.
John, since you're working on this entire African region and you keep, publishing so often about various issues, how skeptic or how critic you are toward the problem of corruption that is actually restricting the government's ability to take action against such major problems. My previous speaker in the program was also of the view that the government, even if has political will, but it gets restricted by its lack of will to fight against corruption. How corruption is related with this lack of ability of government to take action against such organizations?
Yes, and corruption actually is endemic. I mean, in the whole of Africa. I mean, it's one of our aims at Africa Briefing to highlight corruption, any incidents of corruption across the continent. Yes, and in Nigeria, it is more so. I mean, corruption has eaten into the very fabric of the Nigerian society. I mean, everywhere you go, there is corruption. I mean, and when the current president, General President Buhari, Mohamed Buhari, came into office about, I think, 8 or 7 years ago, one of his campaign pledges was to stamp out corruption, in the country. And the jury is still out if he has been able to, or he succeeded, he's going to succeed in stamping out corruption. Corruption exists in every sphere of human activity in that particular country. I mean, there were rumors, some years ago during the administration of the previous president, Goodluck Jonathan, that monies allocated, for the military to get some military hardware actually went into private pockets. I'm talking about billions of dollars. Okay, so that rendered the military a bit hamstrung, without the right or the adequate military hardware, to fight this Boko Haram insurgency. And many go into politics, into business, everywhere there is corruption. So corruption is actually a major problem, within that country.
Perfect. John, how have Boko Haram inflicted the economy of this country? Because as we understand, Nigeria is one of the oil-rich economies of Africa and still better off than many other economies in Africa where people are starving and governments do not have enough resources for them. So how Boko Haram has caused economic damages or political damages to the government of Nigeria?
Well, the Boko Haram insurgency, their activities, are restricted to a certain part of northern Nigeria, mainly in the northeast, like Borno, Maiduguri, Borno State, whose capital is Maiduguri, and some other parts. But locally, it has not affected the whole country. Anyway, the bulk of Nigeria's oil, is found in the southeast of the country. Okay, and most of the economic activities, businesses, industries, commercial activities, you name it, are all mostly concentrated in the south. So the Boko Haram insurgency hasn't actually had any adverse impact on Nigeria's economy so far.
Thank you very much, John Ofiansa, for being with me from London in my program. It's such a privilege to have you here. And ladies and gentlemen, now I am moving to the third and last guest of my program. He's Mr. Julius Mabitulu. He is an award-winning journalist, broadcaster, political analyst, again based in United Kingdom, but of Nigerian origin, and has good command over the African affairs. Welcome to the program, Mr. Julius.
Thank you.
Julius, tell us about this problem between Boko Haram and an organization called ISWAP, which we are not much familiar with, but we are told that it has now allegiance with ISIS or an intellectual collaboration with them and is standing against Boko Haram. Boko Haram's leader, we have learned, and correct me if we are wrong, that has been killed against in an assault against ISWAP. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, ISWAP, or what they call it, Islamic State of West Africa Province, has been, of course, engaged in fight with Boko Haram. When we talk about ISWAP, is led by Mohammed Dawood, that's a leader, of course, working together with Chief Imam Mohammed and Mahmoud. When you look into their fight, these two different organizations, it's all about territorial dominance. And when you look into the naming of the organization, Islamic State of West Africa Province, it's like that area has got two interested parties. And these two parties, one is Boko Haram faction, that was led by Abu Bakr Shekau, who was actually killed this year by Chadian soldiers led by their president Idris Abe. So the fight between the two has been predominantly all about dominance within the region. Boko Haram, of course, claims ownership of the area. Boko Haram, again, under the leadership of Abu Bakr, paying their allegiance to ISIL, all the way to Iraq, which is all about, again, dominating region and expanding terrorism activities within a particular area. So in this particular area, you have Boko Haram and then you have ISWAP. But both of the two are fighting about territorial dominance to see who will end up controlling the area.
I need to understand this from you, that as these two organizations are both now based in Nigeria, fighting for superiority over each other, is this now remain to be a Nigerian issue in nature, or has it spread out to other neighboring countries of Nigeria as well? What we are trying to understand is if it has remained a local phenomena or going abroad.
Initially, what you could rightly say was a purely Nigerian issue was the Boko Haram. Boko Haram, born from the MENT movement, who are campaigning against whatever they call Western education, funny enough, but they were speaking English, which they learned from the West. So you have that moment of Nigeria, Boko Haram, kicking off in northern part of Nigeria. For a long time, Boko Haram was just a Nigerian problem. But now infiltration of ISWAP, Islamic State of West Africa Province, now coming into play. This is now expansion of the terror activity, and it's spilling over to neighboring countries. So we are talking about Nigeria, Niger, and Cameroon, and also Chad. So it's no longer now a Nigerian problem. It's gone beyond Nigerian boundaries. I'll give you an example. Even during the fight between ISWAP and Boko Haram, 54 people were killed not long ago, that when the attack happened in Nigeria to Boko Haram, it went also to border of Chad, and we are talking about now another militant group known as Puduma militants, who are also, they claim they are allied to Boko Haram, now fighting from Chad. And actually, this is now when this fight for dominance is what has resulted in the killing of the leader of Boko Haram by the Chadian authorities. Of course, we saw amazing moment when the president of Chad, Idris Abe, for the first time now, being the commander-in-chief, but leading his military men from Chad in the fight. And they fought Boko Haram relentlessly, and they are the ones who came on TV claiming that
Julius, recently,
if
I can cut you here. Julius, if I can cut you here. Recently, the president of Nigeria has given a public statement wherein he has agreed that he has not been able to achieve any remarkable success against terrorism, particularly mentioning Boko Haram. So do you think, is it a matter of the political will of the government, which is not there, or are there other political or economic reason behind the government of Nigeria not being able to overcome this menace of terrorism?
Yeah, indeed, we see a situation whereby the current president of Nigeria, Buhari, has tried to deal a blow to Boko Haram. Of course, he's willing to do that, but actually, when he makes statements, it comes out as if it's a bigger problem. Not long ago, he was talking about, these people are in the forest, and it's not been an easy thing to deal them a blow. But when you look into when he came to power, 2015, a lot of Nigerians fought for him because he used to be a commander in the military. So they thought, yeah, if we fought for Buhari, who has military experience, we are likely to see the end of Boko Haram. And I'm sure his campaigners also, try to exploit that political capital about he's the one who has experience to deal with challenges of terrorism because he was in the military before. So therefore, after him being in power, a lot has happened, attacks and continuous attacks by Boko Haram. And that now raises a question, is he really in control or not? But of course, we see him liaising with international community. We have the U.S. coming into play to help deal a blow to these expanding terrorist organizations.
Thank you, Julius. Thank you very much. We
yeah.
are running out of time. Thank you very much for being in my program. Ladies and gentlemen, as all three participants of my program agreed that the problem of Boko Haram is more administrative and political in nature. Corruption in Africa, lack of political will from the government, and the war fatiguedness of the military is now causing a stalemate in the war against terrorism in Africa. We'll see in next program how Boko Haram is going to affect the future of the African continent. We'll join you next week with another program. And until then, Allah Hafiz.